You alluded to that point earlier where you moved from this high velocity, high customer volume to growing your accounts. That was the next phase, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, very much so. Part of it is rewards and measurements. There was this notion of like cap one, where it was this cult thing where it was like cap one, cap one, cap one. That's not really the focus anymore. There's been a big shift to the notion of consumption. And that's in part because of some of the hit and run deals where it's like you sell a deal and it wasn't that strategic and maybe the customer didn't adopt it fast enough. Those are edge cases. We have phenomenal back-end economics in terms of organic expansion when we do land, but we're now a publicly traded company and we recognize revenue when customers use the product, not when they pay us or when we book a deal. Half of everybody's compensation plan is tied to consumption quota. How much are the customers using? So that completely shifts the approach. Most good reps were already doing that because the only way to get more growth out of an account is if they use what they already bought. But now there's this real focus on how do I get customers consuming faster and consuming more. We're pretty fortunate the way that our product and our commercial model works. We want efficient usage of our product. We want value. Like we want our customers to say, my cost to value ratio is really, really good. And so it puts us in this healthy position to go to customers and really care about, are you getting value? And how are you getting value? And how can we help you get more value? And so we've implemented a structure around that. Now, when we onboard a customer, we've got a pretty regimented, here's a kickoff call. Here's our touch points over the first month that are either weekly or monthly, depending on the engagement and the customer. Here's how we run a QBR every quarter with customers. And here's the topics we want. Here's the people we want that we're already talking to on their side. Here's the people that we aren't talking to that we want to bring in. We're really thoughtful around that. We do executive roundtables every 6 months in some accounts such that we're getting in front of the C-suite and understanding what they care about. We're making sure that they're aware of the value that we're bringing such that now when it comes time to go write another check, that oftentimes is a big multiple of what the first one was. Now they feel like, okay, I'm getting good value. So that entire process, drastically different than how do I just go get meetings and convince a new customer to try the product and then they'll go expand mostly organically or on its own. The tricky part about it is managing your time. Always. So there's this constant assessment of where is the biggest TAM and where do we have enough momentum? It's a little bit of a balance. Thoughtful territory design is the key element of this. I know that we're talking about Snowflake evolving to a much bigger stage, but I would encourage startups that are trying to get their first 10 customers to actually have thoughtful territory design. Even if it's the founder is the salesperson, be really mindful, have an opinion, have a guess. I think these are my top 50 targets, companies and people. And I'm going to go run against that. And then I'm going to learn and I'm going to figure out. So you're constantly reevaluating, reassessing, where am I getting the most bang for my buck? In our scenario with existing customers, we do the same thing. We really start to see which customers are picking it up. What other use cases do they have? And when you start to see, all right, there's probably not a whole lot more here, then we shift to, hey, we're in support mode for them. We're more reactive than proactive, or we scale it back to some degree. And then in the other places where it's, wow, there's just so much opportunity for this customer to use us, then you're tripling down, you're all in, you're bringing more resources from your company. It's not just a you thing. It's really important that you're connecting them with other customers, with partners, with product team members of Snowflake, your sales engineer. There's just an army of resources that you want to make available. You can do that at any stage, obviously. You always want to appear bigger than you are. The more people you can bring in and make a customer feel the love, the better. The way that I think about territory design in the context of my team is really, how do we ensure that there's enough TAM here so that people will be successful? We can't have a scenario where people are starving. The number one thing that matters is rep productivity. My objective is every single member of my organization hits their number. It's not about how do I hit my number by loading the top 2 people with all the opportunities and everybody else starves, which is unfortunately the way it works in most places.
What do you do when you see momentum slowing down with a customer where you know there's a large TAM, but it's just not moving?
You either try to get wider or higher usually. So you're trying to understand, are there different groups that you aren't talking to that you should be. You're trying to get to a higher level in the organization. And sometimes you have to bring somebody higher in your own organization to get access to those people. Oftentimes you think about the partner ecosystem. We've got this vibrant partner ecosystem where we have cloud partners, we have BI partners, we have ETL partners, we've got SI partners, really doing your diligence with all the partners, understanding and getting data points across to say what opportunities are there in this account and what are the ways to unlock them, who are the key people that you need to be in touch with. Uncovering every rock, I think, is kind of the way to go do it.
This is rounding out this section about sustaining momentum. How do you know it's working?
The two main things are listening to your customer. It becomes apparent when it's working. It's kind of like you just know. And it's in part because you're listening to your customer, and it's in part because you're measuring your results. Again, not just bookings and revenue, but do we have healthy pipeline? Are we accelerating our velocity of the different stages? Are we converting at the different stages? Are those getting better? Are they getting worse? It's just measuring the data and listening to your customers, I think, are the primary ways that you know that it's working.